So I'm going to be talking about a place that is a piece of public space at the urban edge that is, I think, uniquely resilient in times of pandemic and protest. Um, and it's a landfill on the edge of San Francisco Bay. You can see that it's directly across from the Golden Gate Bridge. And it's about 4 miles northwest of the UC Berkeley campus, if anyone has been there. And this is a landfill that operated from 1963 to 1983 as a landfill. And it sticks out about a mile into San Francisco Bay. But because it never was capped, the rubble remains exposed. And so it has been used by artists for decades as a creative space where art and nature come together freely, and people have built large sculptures out of found materials from the landfill and that wash ashore, and that often make really creative use of the natural environment at this location. It's also been an intensely contested space. It was home to a community of otherwise houseless people for a number of years. And this community was evicted in 2014. But the nature of this space, which is separated from the relatively nearby neighborhoods by a tangle of freeways, so it has always felt somewhat isolated. It's been a really terrific space for performance, and also a place that is very dense with memory. The place it's about 30 acres, or I guess that's something like 12 hectares. It's completely covered with shrines and memorials. And the nature of the art is that it's always changing. So anything that is made is going to be altered by other people. So kind of dynamism and anonymity and DIY is at the heart of the nature of the Albany Bulb. So the trails, the benches, the amenities, everything that's there has been built by the users because it has not been managed until very recently. It's owned by the city, but it was not managed, and they had no interest in investing in it because the city has been trying to give it away to the regional park district for years, and the park just doesn't want it. So it's because of this limbo that it has been in a creative and liminal space. But after the eviction of the homeless community, we saw that if the regional park district took over the space, that through a stricter management regime, the creativity could be destroyed. And so I founded with other artists an organization called Love the Bulb that sought to demonstrate the value of this kind of loose space. And we created festivals, dance performances, theater, participatory art projects, community gatherings, all in the interests of demonstrating the value of this kind of loose space. And we created new art installations and commissioned them, but the whole point of the new art was to encourage the creation, the continued creation of the uncurated guerrilla art. So it was, our intention was not to replace, but rather to try to nurture the existing character of the place. So this spring, in April and May, we had a wonderful collection of exhibitions and performances and all kinds of programming planned for April and May, of course, and it was called, ironically, Altered Territory. That was the name of the series, but we had no idea just how altered our territory would be by the pandemic, so we had to cancel everything. And so we turned to putting things online. If you go to our albanybulb.org website, you'll see some of these performances that are now, we filmed them and put them online. Art workshops, we altered them so that they could be done by people at home. But the main thing that has happened since the pandemic started is that the Albany Bulb has just been an incredible godsend for the community, because it's been a place where during the lockdown, it was still safe because you could socially distance to be outdoors. And so at a time when the galleries and museums and theaters have been closed, it has been a place where people can continue to go and see the art, and where people have continued to leave gifts for people. And this is an example of one piece of art that's its function has changed a little bit. It was hidden in a kind of grove, and it's a confessional box. And before the pandemic, it was a place where people would leave their secrets for each other. about their kind of deepest, darkest secrets. After the pandemic started, it became more of a place where people talked about where they were going during COVID. And then, of course, we had the uprisings against police violence that were precipitated by the death of George Floyd and so many other African Americans and Black and Brown people. And of course, the uses of public space were transformed. And in places like Oakland and so many other cities, when the stores were boarded up to protect the windows, it became an incredible canvas for expression. At the Albany Bulb, too, there was a great tradition of political art and protest. And more recently, I and other artists have begun using the spaces of the Bulb to create a memorial for victims of police violence. And one of the most interesting things about the space is that it's unexpected. People come out to walk their dogs or bird watch, and they come upon these memorials that kind of highlight the way that Black lives have been devalued and have the number of deaths have piled up in the same way that the debris has piled up here. And it's been really interesting to overhear, as I'm painting, overhear the parents try to explain to their children who these people are and why they were killed. And it's been a very moving experience to watch parents struggle with that. Let's see, I just want to show kind of the context through a video of kind of, it's just a few seconds that shows kind of the location and how this memorial relates to kind of the other space and gathering spaces of this park. So it's right next to a major trail, and so people just kind of come across it. And people have made their own responses to the memorial. For example, there's a tradition of leaving stones at Jewish graves, and people just started leaving stones at this location. So I think what this space of the Albany Bulb shows is that when a public space is less managed, when it's rough, when it's a place where nature and the urban edge intersect, and when people are able to create their own spaces, it provides a space for conversation, for dialogue, for debate, as well as a place of solace and rest. And it's just been really interesting to watch this particular space perform as public space in a particular way in crisis. And if anybody's interested, we have more information at these locations. Because the art and the activities are always so evolving, if you follow us on Facebook, you can kind of see the participation and the evolution of the space that is always going on. So thank you very much, and I look forward to our discussion.